Hello everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting. This is going to be the first in what I hope is a series of videos I'm calling Collecting Smart. And my goal for this video is really just to have discussions about collecting, and so that we can all make in different aspects of collecting, whether it be working within a budget or making decisions about variance or flipping or the urge to want to have it all or setting goals for yourself and just, a bunch of different aspects of collecting. And with the ultimate outcome being that we all become, through our discussion, become better collectors, smarter collectors, but not the same collectors. Smarter collectors for ourselves. And what I mean by that is this is not going to be a series that says, you should buy this book, or you should collect this way, or you should only focus on Silver Age, or you should only focus on Golden Age, or you shouldn't buy variants, or you should buy variants. That's not what this is going to be about. It's going to talk about the pros and cons of all of those things. And so that we can help make decisions about what's right for us. And this first episode is really just about, what my goals for the series are going to be, and what I feel the first step is in being a smart collector, and that is knowing yourself. There's no one way to collect. There's your way to collect. And what I mean by that is the things that I like, the things that make me happy about collecting may or may not be the same things that you enjoy. I, for one, still enjoy buying new books. I like having a pull list. I like going and picking up new books. I like reading them. Many people would tell me that if I want to get these, bigger books and have a better budget for collecting, grails and older books and that kind of stuff, well, that's a mistake. That's money I could be spending on books that are going to have more value down the road. And they would be right from that perspective. If I just wanted to build a valuable collection, then I would just focus on books that were older. But part of what I really love about comic collecting is the new stories, and going every week or every other week to my comic book store, picking out a new book and discovering a new writer, discovering a new artist, reading a new story, being surprised about where the story's going. To me, that's what comic collecting has always been. When I was younger, like I said, I was more of a reader than a collector, and I'm not willing to give that up, even if it means it makes it harder for me to get some of the books that were on that list that I made a video of a couple nights ago. So for me, that's a choice that I'm willing to make, but I understand what that means. I understand that it makes, with my budget, that it means certain books at this time are out of reach. It means that if I want to do those books, I'm going to have, or acquire those books, I'm going to have to take other steps, because a certain portion of my budget is going to new books. And I'm okay with that. That makes me happy. That may or may not be the right decision for you. Depending on your budget and your position and what you enjoy about collecting, you're going to have a different collecting experience than I am. That doesn't mean that you're right and I'm wrong, that I'm right and you're wrong. It just means that we take different pleasures from collecting. And so the biggest thing that I feel like that everyone needs to think about is what makes you happy about collecting. I would love to have some really big grails. I would love to have early Spider-Man, ASM 1, X-Men #1, some really old Batman Detective Comics books, early Superman. There's a lot of books that I would love to get into, some Golden Age stuff. I think they're cool. But ultimately, I know with my budget what it would take to reach those goals, to get to those kind of books. And I don't want them that much. It's kind of like the 9/8 thing. A lot of people are like, oh, if it's a modern book, I only buy a 9/8. Okay. And I get that, because long-term value on a modern book, there's so many books that get slabbed immediately. Any kind of book that has heat is going to get 100 copies of it sent to CGC like that. 2/3 of those are probably going to come back 9.8 or 9.6. So if you're going to have a modern book that's really going to carry value, it's probably got to be a 9.8. But I'm not worried about that. I want the book. There's several people on YouTube that Tony Sanders, I think, is the one that started it, was, low grade's better than no grade. And it's not necessarily low grade's better than no grade. But if, taking that 9.6 allows me to then have another book that I really want, well, in the slab, most of the time, you're not going to be able to notice the difference between a 9.8 and a 9.6, other than the number written at the top. But for some people, having that 9.8, having that value is important. And they're not wrong for wanting that. That's their choice. That's what they want. That's what they enjoy about collecting. And so I'm going to try to keep this short tonight. Like a few of the future videos, I'm going to, next week, I plan to talk about understanding your budget, understanding what it means, whether it's your budget is $10,000 a year for comics or $500 a year for comics, that understanding what your budget is, understanding where you're at, and how you can leverage your budget to reach your goals. That's kind of going to be the topic for next week. This week, like I said, I just want to talk about, understanding yourself. And if you take joy in having variants, there's nothing wrong with getting those variant covers. I tracked down the Art Germ, Captain Marvel. I'm a big fan of Art Germ. I'm a big fan of Captain Marvel. Turns out this new series didn't get off to a great start, but I love that cover. But I also knew that spending the money on it meant that there was something else I couldn't buy. But that was okay. I'd gotten saved up a little money from selling a few things on eBay. So I was in a position where I could spend it. I made the choice that cover was worth it to me. And that cover brings me joy. It makes me happy looking at it. I'm a big Art Germ fan. It makes me happy. And that, I think, is the most important thing that we all got to think about is you go into collecting, the last thing you want is for collecting to be a chore. One of the things I got when I got back in last year was I wanted everything. I wanted it now. And so there was a little bit of, well, what can I do? What can I buy that I could flip and thing? And I quickly realized that not that I won't in the future buy books and maybe turn them if I can make a profit on it. It's not really how I want to collect. I don't have a stack of books that I only own because I think someday they might be worth something, but I don't care about even now. If it's a character or something that I care about, and yet also could potentially bring me value to build up to a bigger book, that's great, but I'm not going to buy just a book to buy it. Recently, my LCS had copies of that White Widow book, which I had zero interest in. And then I heard that the read on it was terrible later, but I could have gotten cover price copies of White Widow that I could have flipped. Now I didn't know how much they were going for at the time, and maybe I should have, but I had zero interest in that book. And maybe they don't go up. Not every cover goes up, or maybe I don't get them sold before they start coming back down. And so for me, that wasn't worth it. For you, using that White Widow book to try to turn it into something else is maybe that's something you enjoy. So you should do that. But the important thing is to understand what it is that you enjoy about the hobby. What it is that keeps your passion going, makes you happy, and gives you pleasure in the hobby. Is it, I want every Silver Age key I can possibly get? Well, then that's what you should focus on. And you should focus on that in terms of what helps me get there. And cut some of the other stuff out. and, you know, spend your energy and your time on the portions of the hobby that you really enjoy. And maybe it means that you have to do other things to get there, but ultimately you're getting toward the goal that you want. And understanding yourself as a collector and what you want and how you want to collect is how you collect smart. You know, you don't just buy books to buy books. Like, oh, well, everybody says this is a great spec book. Well, I should get it. But does it mean anything to you? Does it further your collection in a way that makes you happy? And if it does, even if it's like, well, that book doesn't mean anything to me, but I know that, but I enjoy that portion of the hobby of turning that book, well, then it's a good decision. But if you don't enjoy that aspect and you're doing it because you're hearing that, oh, this is the hot book of the week or whatever, then you're probably going to burn yourself out. And so I'm going to cut this short. I don't want to, like I said, I'm kind of probably rambling a little bit, but I just wanted to talk about, like, for this first episode of Collecting Smart, I just feel like, you know, the biggest key to even starting to collect smart is to know yourself. Know what it is that drives you to be a collector, that brings you joy out of the hobby. And if you continue to focus on those things, the rest of your answers, I think, will come into place. Obviously, you have to work within your budget, and you have to, you know, sometimes you have to work a little bit in order to get your budget where you want it to be. But as long as you're moving toward your goals and doing it in a way that you enjoy, then ultimately you're going to be successful in collecting, because there's not a right or wrong way to collect. There's your way, and that is what is you should focus on. That's what's important. So I think that's all for this episode. Like I said, next week I think I'm going to try to focus on you know, understanding your budget, working within your budget. Hopefully you guys like this approach to collecting smart, and I will see you next time.